Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mirror Dungeon solo video. Today we'll be using the beautiful princess of Manchaland, Rodion. She's got quite a lot going on in her kit, but thankfully not enough for 2 pages worth of text. Being a blood fiend, she obviously has the same blood feast consumption that the others have, although hers is slightly more powerful as it not only applies her personal buff of Blooming Thorn onto herself, but also another ally depending on which skill she uses. For her skill 1, it applies to the ally with the highest max HP, which means if you are using Blood Fiend Gregor, it will always apply to him because he has the highest max HP out of any identity. For her skill 2, it's the exact opposite, with it applying to the ally with the lowest max HP. While not as guaranteed as her skill 1 applying to Gregor, you can use most identities while also using Barber Otis and still have it apply to her. This is even better for her as it also applies attack power up, and with Otis being a major DPS identity, having attack power up is always a good thing. Her skill 3 is the only one that doesn't consume Blood Feast, instead applying Blooming Thorn naturally, and if Rodion has enough Blooming Thorn, it will convert into her skill 4, the Finale. This skill is more or less completely identical to her skill 3, except that it does more damage and has 3 attack weight. All of this makes her a very powerful identity already, and that's not even taking into account the fact that she has near perfect synergy with her Egos, Hex Nail, and Sanguine Desire. The only thing she's missing for those is a Wrath skill, otherwise she would be perfect. Aside from normal Blood Fiend stuff, she's pretty decent when it comes to bleed synergy. Obviously, like I said, she fuels both Hex Nail and Sanguine Desire nearly perfectly, but outside of that, she has a ton of bleed potency thanks to Blooming Thorn and a total of 4 bleed count. 2 on skill 2 and 2 on skill 4. This is certainly not the greatest bleed count, especially when you consider you'd at most be using her skill 4 once or twice in a fight. However, it is enough that she can be easily supported by better bleed count identities such as Hook Honglu and Rhino Mersault. On top of this, she has a lot of rupture in her kit, equal to the amount of bleed. It's nowhere near enough for her to be considered a good rupture identity. All of her skills are count negative after all, however it is enough for her to be considered usable in a rupture team. Or at least she would be if there was enough positive rupture count skills in the game. There is a grand total of 5 identities with 1 positive rupture count skill each, meaning you have to use every one of those identities just to ensure she doesn't accidentally kill the rupture stack. The main reason rupture is so bad on its own is because of this severe lack of positive rupture count skills. If you have even one identity that doesn't have at minimum a neutral count skill, there is a very high likelihood that they will accidentally kill the stack, and Princess Rodion is no exception. Starting the run off, we take Wound Claret and Little and Doobie Naughty Plushie for our starting gifts and pick the Outcast for the first floor. For this floor, the final fight is against the Golden Apple, a fight which is one of the easiest in the game and not a challenge in the slightest for Princess Rodion. We take the Ebony Brooch for a reward and receive Eclipse of Scarlet Moths as a bonus before heading into the Unconfronting for the next floor. Here we buy Greatcoat, Imposed Weight, Bloody Gadget, and an extra skill 3, while also finding Coffee and Cranes and Thunder Branch before making it to the boss against Cromer. Cromer is honestly a very easy fight. We can easily force Corrosion by the 3rd turn, but more importantly have so much damage that she gets staggered almost immediately afterwards. If I got slightly luckier and got more than 1 Corrosion skill, we could have knocked her into her 2nd phase immediately afterwards. Speaking of her 2nd phase, it's an absolute pushover. Not only are we capable of clashing with everything easily, but we can also stagger all of Cromer's parts, rendering her completely defenseless. At this point in the run, I had yet to fully understand exactly how Rodion played. Her ability to gain her unique status effect of Blooming Thorn is slightly different to the other Blood Fiends. First, it happens at combat start, meaning it happens before everything else, and second, you're limited in the amount of times you can do it. Her skill 2 can give a maximum of 18 per turn, and her skill 1 only 8. You can use 2 of each of them before they stop giving you anything, and I didn't quite realize that just yet, so for most of the run I was playing her unoptimally.
완벽한 한방. 시원한 걸. 고귀하게.
대체 부위가 파괴되었습니다. 대응 매뉴얼을 제시하신다. 올바른 방법으로 우체에게 일격을 가해줍니다.
피날레를 시작하자. 효율적인 대처로 개체를 꿰뚫었습니다. 참고로
We take Squilidity for our reward and head into the crawling abyss for the next floor. Here we find Crown of Roses and Smokes and Wires before making it to the boss against the Ambling Pearl. Having both Wound Claret and Thunder Branch allows us to perfectly stack up both the Bleed and Rupture stack on any enemy and thus trivialize most fights. It takes a bit to get to going, and before then the Pearl manages to stagger us with its poison. This nearly kills us, but thanks to being a Blood Fiend, any damage we take doesn't really matter as we can regenerate it all back by simply attacking.
요즘 고민거리는 없어? 혹시라도 일하는데 힘든 점이 있다면 언제든지 너무 시간해줘. 부위 하나가 파괴되었어. 이대로 똑같이만 한다면 엄청난 공격이었어. 개체를 구성하는 만한 걸 파괴되었습니다. 이 틈을 파고들어도 좋은 것 같군요.
어트랙션이 끝나면 꼭 출구에서 상품을 받아가셔야
이런 건 이발사나 직원들의 체력이 얼마나 고귀하게. 피날레를 시작하자. 개체를 큰 준것 같아. 고귀하게. 방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데.
We take the Rusted Muzzle for our reward and head into a certain world for the next floor. Here we buy Awe and Smoking Gunpowder while also finding Standard Duty Battery. We fuse Respite and Rusted Cutting Knife before heading in to face Nelly. Unlike in the previous Magic Bullet Otis video, Nelly isn't challenging in the slightest as Bleed and Rupture combined together drains health bars so quickly it's not even funny. Pretty much if you can't insta-kill Rodion in the first turn, you don't stand a chance against her, and Nelly takes 3 turns to do that, so she doesn't stand a chance.
제압 개체 상태가 좋.
여기다가 피날레를 시작하자. 방금 공격은 좋았어. 이대로만 계속해보면 좋을 텐데.
We take the Chief Butler's secret arts for our reward and receive Arrested Him as a bonus before heading into Murder on the Warp Express for the final floor. Here we buy Ragged Umbrella, Broken Revolver, and an extra skill 2 before making it to the final boss against Cassetti. The princess has come back for her prince, but for whatever reason, he doesn't want to return with his great-great-grandmother. In any case, Cassetti can always prove to be a bit of a challenge for any bleed identity, thanks to gaining buffs if he's bleeding. Unfortunately for him, it's nowhere near enough. As long as we use 2 skill 2s every turn, we have a permanent 6 attack power up, and can easily match his super buffed clash power. With him left unable to heal after his single guaranteed hit, Rupture and Bleed is more than capable of draining his health bar faster than you can say Princess Rodion has 2 big reasons why anyone would want to get her. Rupture and Bleed, of course. What else would I be referring to?
개체를 회수했습니다. 참고로 이거는 무게각인 마우스라서 쉽게 하지 않아요. 괜찮은 방법이네요. 앞으로도 그렇게만 해주세요. 피 분수가 폭죽보다도 높이 솟아올랐어. 아니야, 이렇게 크게 웃으면 안 돼. 아름다움을 잃지 않게, 그리고 제2 권속으로서의 품위도 잃지 않게 하자.
And that's how I soloed Mirror Dungeon 4 hard using only Princess Rodion. She is a very, very good identity. While she doesn't have a whole lot of count for either of her statuses, it's enough that if you have 1 or 2 bleed count dedicated identities, that she can support it just fine, especially if you can get a single Sanguine Desire off. In the Mirror Dungeon though, she is an absolute monster. Having perfect bleed and rupture synergy means no boss is capable of surviving more than a few turns against her. Anyway, that's it from me. Like and subscribe to get Princess Rodion your next pull 100% guaranteed. Goodbye.